Tonight, Eurostar chaos. The London to Paris service is halted for the day after an unexploded World War II bomb is found near the tracks in France, affecting thousands of passengers.
We don't really want to do 24 hours in Paris, so I guess my birthday will be in London.
This is my first time in Europe, actually, and not every day you find like a bomb on the way from the Second World War.
Also ahead, the dramatic moment police smash a Russian spy ring.
Police, stay there! Stay there! Stay there! Stay there! Get in there! Get in there! Get in there!
3 Londoners are today found guilty of espionage. The ULEZ effect. The mayor says some of the boroughs who put up the most opposition to his plan saw the best improvements in air quality. Critics say it's come at a huge financial cost for many. And
oh, this is great. I'm starving. Handshake.
Absolute pleasure.
I think I am.
I tell you what, that's better than Paul Hollywood handshake.
Sally catches up with celebrity chef Tom Kerridge over a slice of pie. Good evening. Thousands of stranded passengers and huge travel disruption. Not quite the weekend getaway that many had planned for after Eurostar trains between London and Paris were brought to a halt today. The cause? An unexploded World War II bomb found near the tracks in France by maintenance workers. All trains between the two capitals were suspended and travellers were told to seek alternative routes or change their tickets, with many encountering yet more problems with the train operator's app. Well, tonight, French authorities say they have disarmed the bomb. With the latest, here's our senior correspondent, Ronke Phillips.
Stopped in its tracks, the London to Paris service was brought to a halt when the unexploded bomb was found near the tracks in the French capital. Passengers turned up at St Pancras this morning to discover services were suspended. Initially, it was hoped trains would be running by midday, but that didn't happen.
This is my first time in Europe, actually, and not every day you find like a bomb on the way from the Second World War on the way to Paris.
We just had the whole weekend planned from Friday to Sunday, go to a couple restaurants, couple bars and do some sightseeing.
It wasn't long before the Gare du Nord and St Pancras were both packed with passengers who had no way of getting to their destinations. Fridays are one of the busiest days for Eurostar, with people using the train for their weekend breaks. So this disruption has left thousands on both sides of the channel scrambling to find alternative modes of transport. This family from Brazil managed to get themselves rebooked on a Eurostar train tomorrow, but their unexpected stay in London meant they had nowhere to sleep.
For me, it's so crazy, and now we have to try. We are looking for the place to stay in London, and London is more expensive city. My train going to schedule to tomorrow, and yeah, we are looking for the place to stay.
It was this unexploded World War II bomb which caused the chaos. The device has now been made safe, but not before numerous trains were cancelled, leaving tens of thousands of passengers inconvenienced. Eurostar train services to London resumed late this afternoon, but for a time the rush to rebook journeys crashed the system.
We've upscaled our capacity actually to deal with the additional flows of demands through our website, and that is working well. We just ask our customers, please bear with us. You will be able to rebook or claim a refund or indeed a voucher.
It's thought a total of 32 trains were cancelled before the bomb was finally defused. Services are running sooner than predicted, but too late for those who were only planning a weekend trip. Ronke Phillips, ITV News.
Well, let's go to Sharon Thomas, who is live at St Pancras International. And Sharon, what are you hearing? What's the latest?
Well, if you were looking forward to a romantic long weekend in Paris, leaving from here tonight, I'm afraid it's disappointment for you. So Eurostar have confirmed that all 32 services between here at St Pancras and Gare du Nord in Paris have been cancelled for today. The earliest one you can hope to get on is the 6:31 tomorrow morning. Now, I've just come from inside the terminal, actually. Lots of people milling around, lots of people very disappointed, determined to get home tonight. I spoke to one woman who said, I really must get back this evening to see my family. Are you sure the 8 o'clock service isn't running? Only to be told no. There are some alternatives. The trains between here and Brussels are still running, so if you want to go there and eat some chocolate instead, I suppose you could do that. British Airways have said that they are putting on an extra service between Heathrow and Paris in each direction tonight. Eurostar, for their part, are saying, of course, we're extremely disappointed. We're very apologetic to customers. What they should do is to go online and either rebook their service or apply for a refund. Or if you do want to come back here tomorrow morning, customer services staff are saying go away tonight, return here tomorrow morning, and the earliest one you can hope to hop on is the 6:31 in the morning from here at St Pancras.
Oh goodness, Sharon, a lot of unhappy travellers there today. Thank you very much. Next, a group of Bulgarian nationals who made their home in North London have been found guilty of spying for Russia in a huge espionage operation. The 2 women and 1 man, dubbed the Minions, acted as spies working for the Russian intelligence service, also known as GRU. The trio could now be facing years behind bars for one of the largest and most complex enemy operations to be uncovered on UK soil. Marina Jenkins reports.
This was the moment all in Rusev's operation came crashing down.
Stay there!
It's the wrong place.
Support!
I think it's the wrong place.
On entering this property, counter-terrorism police seized more than 1,800 items, from listening devices, concealed cameras and a fake ID printer. The group of 6 Bulgarians, who dubbed themselves as the Minions, were working as spies for the Russian intelligence service, known as GRU. The Met Police carried out the raids and arrests in February 2023 and found overwhelming evidence.
They were a threat to national security in information gathering, but also they were targeting individuals, including journalists. So it says something about our ability to have a free press here in the United Kingdom. And we know that whilst they were conducting lifestyle surveillance here in the UK, sophisticated lifestyle surveillance, they were nonetheless passing out to the Russian intelligence services. And that's where the threat really comes, where we're concerned about how they'll use that intelligence in other operations.
Katrin Ivanova, a lab assistant from Harrow, beautician Vanya Gabarova from Acton, and Timofey Ivanchev, a painter and decorator from Enfield, have all been convicted of spying for Russia.
Got a search warrant to search the address, okay?
Oh yeah, sure. No. Yeah.
This spy ring is one of the largest and most complex seen by terrorism police on UK soil. The Despicable Me sidekicks are facing years behind bars and will be sentenced in May. Marina Jenkins, ITV News.
Some other news now. Police have arrested a man in connection with the fatal shooting of a teenager in Stockwell earlier this week. 16-year-old Nathaniel Burrell died at the scene following the shooting in Paradise Road on Tuesday afternoon. A 32-year-old man was arrested on suspicion of murder this morning and remains in custody. And 3 teenagers have denied the murder of a 15-year-old schoolboy who was stabbed to death with a zombie knife. Dejon Campbell was attacked on Eglinton Road in Woolwich last September. Today, 18-year-old Jacob Losevich, 19-year-old Marco Balash and a 17-year-old boy pleaded not guilty to a single charge of murder at the Old Bailey. Their trial is due to start in June. Now, they appealed their jail sentences, hoping to have them significantly reduced, if not quashed altogether. But today, only 6 out of 16 climate activists, including the Just Stop Oil co-founder, had their sentences cut down. The group was originally jailed for disrupting M25 traffic and even throwing soup at Vincent van Gogh's sunflowers. They went to the Court of Appeal, with their lawyers claiming their sentences were manifestly excessive, a view disputed by the prosecution. Cafo Pata reports.
Today, Just Stop Oil traded their environmental activism for a legal one, perhaps the most important fight they'll have. Behind these walls, 16 protesters were appealing their sentences and to have sentencing rules changed for non-violent protesters. Amongst the group was Just Stop Oil's co-founder, Roger Hallam, who was jailed last year for his role in blocking the M25. Phoebe Plummer and Anna Holland, who threw soup on a Van Gogh painting. In the end, only 6 of the 16 had their sentences reduced.
The sentences imposed in the M25 conspiracy case were quashed, and the following sentences substituted. Roger Hallam, 4 years imprisonment.
As the judge gave her ruling, supporters stood up in protest, left court before she could finish her ruling, and revealed what they thought of her decision. The mood here is undoubtedly flat, sombre in fact. Just Stop Oil and their fellow environmental activists were hoping to have these convictions quashed, legal precedents changed. But, as you can see, things haven't gone their way.
It's scary, but equally it doesn't deter people from taking action. People will, I'm sure there will be lots of people who will move on to unaccountable things. And that's an option when people think that, well, if you show your face, you'll end up in prison for several years. And if they can't risk that, but they know that they need to do something, they'll do it unaccountably.
After today's ruling, Just Stop Oil released a statement online. They said, to consider what the Just Stop Oil 16 have done without considering the horror for heat and world of billions dying in the coming decades, without recognising that our current economic system risks ending the rule of law and ordered civil society, is frankly immoral.
If Lady Justice Carr thinks that these sentences will act as a deterrent, then she is wrong.
Just Stop Oil may have lost today's legal battle, but they are determined to keep fighting the war on climate change. Catho Patter, ITV News.
Still to come. A look at one of the capital's top attractions as it celebrates its Silver Jubilee and... The band from Surrey getting ready to represent the UK at this year's Eurovision. But first, Sadiq Khan says that ULEZ has been an unequivocal success. The ultra-low emission zone was expanded to cover the whole of the capital in August 2023, meaning that non-compliant vehicles now pay £12.50 a day. Today, City Hall published its first report into the effects of the scheme, which says emissions are coming down faster in London than anywhere else in the UK. But for those who run businesses in London's outer boroughs, they say ULEZ has had huge financial implications, as Carolyn Sim reports.
It is almost 2 years since the ULEZ was expanded to the whole of London, causing division, worry,
all those costs keep going up,
and even tears.
I don't know what to say.
But today, the Mayor joined toddlers at a nursery in Barnet to celebrate a new report which claims London's air is getting cleaner and the ULEZ is working.
What's particularly pleasing is it's in those boroughs in outer London where the council's wasted taxpayers' money taken us to court, we've seen the biggest improvements.
It found that levels of the toxic gas nitrogen dioxide have decreased by 27%. Particle emissions from exhausts are 25% lower, and air quality has improved at 99% of monitoring sites across the capital. But the figures are based on estimates. They compare what would have happened without ULEZ expansion.
Air pollution was already falling out of London. The travel industry is getting greener itself, so we're seeing cleaner vehicles come on the road. Anyway, this was nothing but a tax on motorists that has just made people's lives a misery.
One unhappy business owner is Roger Tichborne, whose music studios are just within the ULEZ zone in Barnet. He told us that £12.50 a day is too much for many musicians to pay.
The vast majority of the 40% of our customers who live outside London simply have stopped coming here because they can't afford it. They'd rather go to studios in Boreham Wood, Elstree. It's just not helped. We weren't consulted on the matter, and he hasn't listened at all.
One constant supporter of the scheme, Rosamond Kissy-Deborah, whose daughter Ella died partly because of air pollution, says efforts to clean up the air must never stop.
Tomorrow will be 12 years to the day Ella was buried, and ultimately it just reminds me of what we went through. It just can't happen to anyone else. Yes, the stats, I know 54 children have died in the last 4 years from asthma and anaphylaxis, and this is just a part of what I do.
It is still a divisive policy. More than 5,000 drivers a day are getting fined. But the Mayor insists ULEZ is cleaning up our air. Carolyn Sim, ITV News, Barnet.
Now, a band from Surrey have been announced as the UK's entry for this year's Eurovision Song Contest. Let's have a listen.
What the hell just
The country group Remember Monday is the first girl band to represent the UK since 1999. The trio met at a sixth form college before going on to compete on The Voice. Well, last year, the UK placed 18th in the competition in Malmö. Let's see how we do at this year's final in Basel in Switzerland. And staying with showbiz, my guest tonight hit the big time when he starred in the Guy Ritchie classic, A Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, and now his latest movie, filmed in Boreham Wood, is out this week.
You need 5 underground to see me.
That's if I want to see you.
Well, you're going to have a problem carrying on, aren't you?
I'll see you.
No trouble.
Don't lie to me. You're a man, I try and stay out of your business. But this is my house and I have a right to know.
Well, there you go, Nick Moran in Lock, Stock. We remember that. And your new movie, Cookster, The Darkest Days, and it had the premiere last night in London.
Yeah, we did it, which was great because it's so rare these days that you get a premiere. You know, everything just goes straight to streaming platforms, and you watch it at home with your, you know, with your partner or your mum, and that's it. That's as much as you get. But God bless the mayor of Boreham Wood. They rolled out the red carpet, and we did a little. We had a little event up there, which was terrific.
It's a gritty crime drama.
Yeah,
and it is based on a real story, isn't it?
Yeah. So basically, there's a guy, Jason Cook, who was a reformed felon and turned author. He came up to me, must be about 10 years ago, when I was at Elstree Studios working on something else, and gave me a copy of this book.
Wow.
And said, I'd really like you to read this.
Yeah.
And it was great. It was the story of a school kid that goes awry, ends up working as a drug dealer, and it's his sort of journey to prison, basically. And then nearly 10 years later, he said, would you play my dad? So, and it's a very humbling experience when you're playing someone's dad and they're in the room and they've written the script. I contribute to the film. It's a very small, micro-budget movie, which is, at the moment, it's very difficult to get.
Critics are loving it, though, aren't they?
Well, yeah,
it's
good.
Good
I'm glad. I'm glad. It's very difficult to get a film made at the moment. All the oxygen's been sucked out to the big studio platforms. And so to make us an individual film, an indie movie in this country is an achievement in itself. And so it is a lo-fi film, but so was Once. So was Blair Witch. That doesn't mean it's not without merit.
As you say, filmed in Boreham Wood. Now, is it true that you used locals in the movie?
Everything was local. Yeah. I mean, it was for me. It's not talking out of school, but I was juggling between doing a big action movie in Budapest and then flying backwards and having lunch at Greg's and wandering around sort of Boreham Wood. So it could not be more sort of attached to the community. There was a lot of locals involved. All the locations are local and the story's local. And
I love it. Keeping it real in Boreham Wood.
Yeah, keeping it real in Boreham Wood.
Don't get carried away with Budapest.
No,
don't need any of that.
right.
Listen, we've got to talk about Lock, Stock as well, because that was such a huge movie at the time, wasn't it? And, it was a real breakthrough moment for you.
Everybody.
Yeah, everyone who was in it.
A whole bunch of people.
Do you realise at the time when you were making it, did you think, this is going to be massive?
I knew it was going to be very, very good, and I didn't know it was going to be successful.
Yeah.
But I was telling everybody how great this film was going to be, and they were like, yeah, who's in it? I'm like, Sting. Oh, good luck with that. But it was, and then everybody from that film has gone on to be,
Great things.
Great things.
And I've got to ask you, because another big... Harry Potter. You've been in Harry Potter.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Which is a huge franchise.
I love that.
But I also read an interview you did a couple of years ago that you don't do social media.
No.
And you don't much want to be famous.
Well,
but that's inevitable when you do movies like Harry Potter.
I don't have a smartphone. I've got a little... I've got a tiny little dumb phone, and that's it.
And
I've got no interest in it. It just doesn't.
No interest in social media at all.
I keep my opinions to myself, and I make people laugh in social environments. I don't want to plaster what I think all over the place. And I think the need to be heard isn't necessarily as important as the need to listen. And that's what I do more of.
And what a good way to end that.
Thank you.
Nick Moran, thank you so much for coming in. And the film is out now.
Yes, the film's out now. Please hunt it down. There's so few British films around, and it needs as much support as it can get.
All right,
so
fantastic. Thank you for coming in. Thank you. Next tonight, it was only meant to be a temporary attraction to celebrate the turn of the millennium, but since opening, a whopping 85 million people have flown the London Eye, making it one of the capital's best-loved landmarks. Now, 25 years since it first opened its pods, the Eye is celebrating its silver jubilee. Helen Keenan has more.
Not only a part of the capital's skyline, but also a way to see London's landmarks. 25 years of the London Eye are being marked this weekend. With millions of visitors, it's proving just as popular over 2 decades since its creation.
Yeah, first time on the London Eye, isn't it? Why did you want to come? I just think London is great to be on the sun shining.
To get one of the best views of London. And on one of the river cruises, we heard that it's the most visited attraction in London, actually.
Constructed off-site and floated up the Thames before being lifted into place. It was never meant to last, a temporary structure to celebrate the millennium, but its popularity with the public made it permanent.
It was meant to be for 5 years. If it wasn't a success, if people didn't like it, then it could have been taken apart. It would prove to be very successful, very popular. People loved it. But it's all about seeing London, so it's all about appreciating London from a new perspective. And as London turned, to a new millennium, it was also about saying that London is a city that continually changes and updates itself. So it was a symbol of 21st century.
It's had its famous moments, visits from the royal family, and shows of solidarity, like when the NHS turned 75.
We have been in a lot of films. I think some of my favourites have been like Mission Impossible, Harry Potter films as well. It really is now that part of the staple, that iconic London skyline. If it wasn't for the Londoners themselves and our millions of visitors that come every year, we wouldn't be here.
The London Eye, the heartbeat of the London sky.
To celebrate its silver anniversary, a poem and film have been created about its history. Those behind it call the Eye the world's most iconic ride and a firm fixture in London's sky. Helen Keenan, ITV News.
Oh, as you can see from Helen's report, it's been a beautiful week of sunshine and blue skies in the capital. Fingers crossed spring has finally sprung. Let's see what's in store for the weekend. Here's Chris.
A breezy morning will be followed up with a flurry of fresh delights for lunch. TUI sponsors ITV London weekend weather.
Hello there. Very good evening to you. It's been a very spring-like start to the first week of March, and there's plenty more spring weather to come as we move through the weekend too. Staying largely fine for all of us. Today we saw highs of 18 degrees Celsius. Quite a similar weather expected through much of the weekend. Warm where we do see any of that sunshine, but at this time of year with the night staying fairly long, it does turn rather chilly. Now this area of low pressure to the southwest of the UK bringing some very heavy rain for Spain and Portugal. Meanwhile for us, a lot of dry weather through much of the weekend. There'll be variable amounts of cloud pushing its way in from the southwest, but we drag in the mild air from the continent, from that southeasterly. So that's why temperatures remain above average for the time of year. Through this evening and overnight, we've got some cloud just coming and going. Any showers that we've seen through this afternoon just starting to clear away across western home counties, and then clear skies. Temperatures will tumble away. In fact, falling into low to mid single figures in the countryside. But we start first thing tomorrow morning then as we go through Saturday with some sunshine. A lovely fine start today, perfect for getting out and about and enjoying some of that sunshine. A little variable cloud just spilling in from the southwest for the afternoon, but it will be dry and temperatures there coming between 17, maybe squeezing up to 18 degrees Celsius too. And as we leave Saturday and go into Sunday, where we continue the fine and quiet weather, there'll be some cloudier skies for a time, coming and going, the wind staying fairly light from the southeast, and more sunny spells developing through the day on Sunday too. But it doesn't last long, this lovely mild spell that we've seen, because into next week we usher in something a little cooler from the north, and we see temperatures back to something more typical for March. Take care.
TUI sponsors ITV London weekend weather.
And finally, his Marlow pub is the only one in the country to boast not one, but 2 Michelin stars. Haute cuisine indeed, but that hasn't stopped chef Tom Kerridge from celebrating the Cockney classic pie and mash. With British Pie Week in full swing and the Hand and Flowers pub marking a special anniversary, Sally went along for some celebratory pie and a look back on Kerridge's 20 years at the forefront of fine dining.
Whether it's pie and mash or a posh pie like this, they've long been associated with London.
I've come at the right time, haven't I? Pie Week.
Pie Week. And I'm about to tuck into one that's been made by the country's only 2 Michelin star pub here in Marlow.
Oh, this is great. I'm starving.
Look at that. There was only one thing for it.
Handshake.
Absolute
Who do
pleasure.
I think I am?
I tell you what, that's better than Paul Hollywood handshake. That. Oh, that's winning.
Tom Kerridge loves a bit of London's pies.
Pie and mash in London, amazing.
Given you are from the West Country but love a pie and mash, have you got a bit of Cockney in you, Tom?
Well, my dad was actually from London, so there's a little bit of London in my heart. Yeah. So my dad was from South East London, so yeah.
Can you do any rhyming slang?
No, I don't know. Sadly not.
Neither can I.
No.
Tom opened the Hand and Flower 20 years ago and now has 2 other restaurants in Marlow.
But it does feel like just yesterday that myself and my wife and a few other guys and some family and some friends were painting walls and ceilings, opening our first business. And I genuinely don't know whether, if I knew what the journey would be like, whether I'd open a business again on my own. But actually, the highs and the lows are amazing.
In 20 years, Tom has never sat still, working tirelessly and turning his own health around too.
It used to be 30 stone.
Living my best life, have a pint of Negroni, then I'd probably have another one, and then I would do at least 6 pints of strong lager.
But after 2 decades here, you can probably guess the biggest high and the biggest low.
Best high is undoubtedly winning that second Michelin star, so being the first pub to do it. I think for a low's point of view, I think the hardest part, and it would be like so many other people's businesses, was I think the pandemic.
Tom is very modest about the celebrity of his visitors, and perhaps this single story I got out of him proves why.
I do remember George Clooney coming through the door one lunchtime and having fish and chips. We made sure that the staff don't make a fuss, don't do anything, don't say anything. And then when he left, nobody said anything. And then we got an email that evening from him and his agent saying, thank you ever so much. We had the most wonderful time. It's amazing that we were left alone and the whole...
Tom clearly loves it here, and 20 years proves here loves him.
And happy birthday. I feel
Thank
like I
you
want to
very
sing to you.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
I'll save that pleasure for later.
Yeah, thank you, mate. Thank you.
Sally Williams, ITV News, Marlow.
Yeah, happy birthday. And that's it from us. The Evening News is next with Charlene. But for now, from all of us on the London team, bye-bye. Have a great weekend.